Welcome to the Fight Game with Icewater and Puma, and we're going to recap the Spence Crawford fight. We made predictions last week. Boy, were we off. Hey, got to give it up to Terrence Crawford. He came in with the game plan. He came in to fight. He just boxed beautifully. That's the only way I can describe it at that particular point. I was really shocked that the fight wasn't that competitive. From Spence's standpoint. I've never seen Spence fight like that before. I've never seen him just stay in a southpaw style and not make adjustments. I've never seen that. I've been watching this guy pretty much all his career. But I think what happened, Ice, is that Terrence Crawford was able to neutralize that jab. It seemed like every time Spence would throw a jab, Crawford would just come right, follow it right up with a jab, countering. He started to kind of box him, staying away from him. You saw Spence early in the fight become the aggressor. Then all of a sudden, Spence felt Terrence Crawford's power, and Terrence Crawford became the aggressor. And to see Spence get touched up like that, it was just a big shock to me that he wasn't that competitive. It didn't seem like he was in rhythm. It didn't seem like he was focused. And at times, he seemed desperate to try to throw a haymaker or something like that. And he was getting caught. Your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it was a tough one because I did make a prediction, and when I'm wrong, I'm man up. Although I will say, I said round 9.
You did say round 9. You got the round right, but the fighter.
No, all good though. No, but as you said, I was shocked. We've been watching Terrence Crawford and we've been watching Errol Spence Jr. watching Errol Spence dominate people. And nobody could come forward, and he just did what he did and really moved forward and got the job done. And we as we said, we knew that there was a chance that Crawford could win the fight, but there was just a little skepticism because you didn't know. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, I did look at the resume, like, okay, who else he fought? I did say that as well, but I knew he was capable. I knew he was not just an average guy. He was better than a lot of guys that Spence has faced because he's proven it. It was just being smaller and the size and whether or not he could handle it. And he did. As you mentioned before, one of the things that really kind of caught me by surprise is after Spence supposedly won the first round, in the second round, what I think the big difference for me was the fact that Crawford started to be first.
Yeah.
So Spence is used to being the guy that waits and then he'll jab and then he'll follow up and then other people try to come behind. This time, I think Crawford must have saw something, and he started throwing his jab first. And he was tagging Spence, and Spence was trying to move a little bit, but he started being first. And once he started being first, it's like, I don't have to wait on him anymore.
Yeah, I think he realized he was much faster than Spence.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have to wait anymore. Usually you see Terrence Crawford may fall behind 2-3 rounds. After that first round, second round, he's like, you know what? We're just going to go be first. If I'm first, I got him off rhythm. And at that point, I just think it just disrupted everything that Spence wanted to do. And you got to give it to Terrence Crawford.
Yeah.
I mean, when I listened to the corners and I heard what Bomac was saying, and he was trying to tell him some things, but a lot of the stuff he was saying was kind of, and I'm not taking them from him because that's his trainer, but it sounded a little generic in a way. But that gave me I'm going to give more credit to Terrence Crawford for seeing what he had to do. Because he came in there and he saw what was happening, and he was first. I mean, he was getting that punch off first. When you get that, what we're seeing now, you get that jab off first, and then you basically beat Spence at his own game. And once he hit him with the off-balance shot, where he was off-balance and he knocked him down the first time, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And there's nothing Derrick James could do to get him back on track. He was trying to tell him, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. He couldn't pull him back in. But again, you got to give it to Crawford because Crawford to me, fought a wonderful fight.
Well,
he did what you're supposed to do against Spence.
Strategize. Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And other people say they can do that against Spence, and everybody said he's one-dimensional, which you can say that he is, but nobody else has been able to do what Bud Crawford did. And that's what made Bud Crawford the champion. That's what made him stand out, was able to move forward and hurt him. Because Spence, usually what he's done in the past, you might try to hit him, but sooner or later, he's going to come back with a shot.
Yeah.
And he's going to hurt you. wasn't able to do that this time. He couldn't even get close to the point where he could really land shots, because when he did reach or use some desperation, as you say, he got punished.
Yeah, yeah, he was throwing
Yeah,
those wide punches,
yeah,
and Crawford was able to get inside of him
yeah.
more quicker,
Mhm.
and it just seemed like, and we've seen this in the last couple of Spence fights where he kind of loses focus. He kind of,
Mhm.
his defense is, his hands aren't up when he's throwing those punches, thinking he's going to land and really kind of do some damage. But one of the things that we talked about last week was Crawford and how he has these defensive lapses. It was
Mhm.
none of that in this fight. None of
No.
that at all. His defense was on point. I think people have been pointing that out to him, and he made it a point to say, "Hey, I'm not going to let this guy kind of catch me with a shot without me kind of playing some kind of great defense." But I will say this about Crawford: I got to put him at pound for pound now. I was reluctant a long time ago because of the competition he was fighting, and I always kind of fought against him being over Earl Spence in that top 10 pound for pound. But you got to put him up there, and I have to put the monster up there too. So they're 1 and 2, whoever you want to pick. Those are the 1 and 2 guys pound for pound, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think Crawford goes to the top for me. One,
Mm-hmm.
because you fought a guy that had through the other 3 belts. You had 1 belt, and you kept telling everybody what you were going to do, and you beat him fair and square.
Yep.
Not only did you beat him fair and square, you beat him down to a point where everybody saw who the best was. I love the monster, but the monster did what he's supposed to do. But I think more was on the line for Crawford. With
Yeah.
all of the promotions and everything was a bigger stage, and he stepped up and he rose to the occasion. And like I was telling you before, that we'll talk about that as well. As I think that in this promotion, this fight, and by it being just sponsored and shown out by PBC, you got a chance to really see who the real Terrence Crawford was, as a person, as a man, as a personality, and what he's really all about. I mean, there was, and I told you earlier off set, that I think that it's almost as if Top Rank was smothering him and hiding him. You didn't really get a chance to see who he was. So you may not like Al Hammond, you may not like PBC, but we got a chance to see really who Terrence Crawford is and type of guy he was. He is. And he's really mild mannered. I mean, he gets hyped up and does his little stuff, but for the most part, he just came across as a good dude. And the factor that he was even at the weigh-in with when he and Spence shook hands, and like, yo, we about to make some real money, about to make history, like saying things that true warriors would say, and it wasn't negative. And I saw a lot. I gained a lot more respect for the person Terrence Bud Crawford, because he did something also a lot of people are not talking about. When you win, they take the belts. Whoever had the belts, they just give the belts to the other person. So at the post press conference, they were there, and they had Errol Spence Jr. there first, and he spoke, and they called up Terrence Crawford. And what Terrence Crawford did, major. I mean, it was gonna happen anyway, but he didn't have to. He went on stage and he gave Errol Spence some dap. He gave Errol Spence his belts back. Take those home with you. I'm gonna get my own belts. I get them anyway. Why would I take your belts? I mean, I took them because ceremony type thing. But he literally brought he had his team bring the belts back so he could take them home and put them up in his trophy case. That's grown man stuff right there.
That's class right there. That's class.
Yeah, it is. Because he could have took it and just, these my belts, I'm keeping your belts and I got my belts too. He didn't do that. He literally he called for the belts and he gave each belt back to Errol Spence. All 3 belts.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Yeah. That's the champion.
Much respect. Much respect.
That's the champion.
He's realizing that this guy worked hard for those belts too. They
and he respects.
He already got the belt. That's
Plus, too, Terrence Crawford. They're going to give Terrence Crawford his own belts.
Yeah.
I've never, and maybe it does happen, but I've never heard it where the former champion, the new champion gives the belts back, the old belts back to the champion.
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Much respect to Terrence Crawford. There was one thing I disagreed with him on, and we talked offline about this. It was almost like he was blaming the public and blaming people about, him not getting the just due that he deserved and got that night. But I look upon it as if, your management really kind of kept you from getting the big major fights, and you fighting
Yeah,
in Nebraska. Bob Arum, the management was part of the cause where I think he's like 35, 36 now,
yeah.
and it's taken this long to get there. I said, so part of it has to be, accountability that, hey, I didn't make the right choices, and some of the management I picked and some of the moves that management was allowed to do not to get me to this point.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think what I said before, people that don't like Al Heyman or PBC, that's great. But I think that Terrence Crawford clearly saw the difference
Hmm.
and how a production is done and
Yes.
how champions are supposed to be treated. So, granted, I think that he made some bad business decisions. I don't know why, and maybe somebody was telling him the safe way to route is to go with Bob Arum. But now I think being on that other side and seeing how things were done production wise, and it was just done so eloquently, and it was like, wow, this is class. This is class. I think he was a little shell shocked by it, and I think he was a little angry because he probably was angry at the people because nobody was giving him love, like he said, or not a lot of people. But he kind of did it to himself. I think he's a little mad at himself too, because he
Yeah.
said, "Hell, I could have been doing it for. I
For the
could have got been
last
treated."
5, 6 years, he could,
Yes,
in his
yes.
prime, actually. Yeah.
I think, yeah. So I think he's a little bit besides that too, because some of the decisions that he made and some of the people that he signed with, it just didn't seem like he had a clue.
Yeah.
And when he finally got with PBC, it's like, man, this is
The real deal. It's the real
yeah,
deal. Yeah.
yeah. This is what I was been expecting.
Yeah.
I know I'm that good, but well, I should have been like this for a long time. So
Right.
everybody never come out and say that about Bob Arum. But I mean, clearly, Top Rank was giving him the fights that he wanted.
So let's look at what's next for Crawford. We'll go with the champ first, and of course, Earl Spence said, "Hey, there's a rematch in December. Not sure if that's going to happen. It may happen. That may be the fight, next fight. But you're looking at Ennis, Charlo, which he was chirping at the fight, or Canelo Alvarez and Tim Tszyu for Crawford. If he doesn't fight Spence again, who will step up and be that first title defense for him?
Man, that's a tough one. I think Spence really wants that fight. I think he believes he could be better. He felt like he had an off night, but I think he would say if they do rematch, and I think it's up to the person that's calling for the rematch, the loser. He wants it at 154.
Yeah.
It's a natural weight. May not make a difference because Terrence Crawford fought the way that he did. Errol Spence doesn't get more animated and come with more action. It's probably going to be the same thing. It's going to be a bigger weight.
Yeah.
But I think it will come in stronger. So if the rematch does not happen, wow, because Ennis is the number one contender and one for one of the belts now. I think. I don't think it'll be Charlo.
Jamel Charlo, yeah.
I don't think it's Jamel Charlo.
Okay.
And because Jamel Charlo is gonna fight Canelo next, he truly believes, and that's what I like about Jamel. I don't know if he's gonna win or not. I think he got a shot because he's a little angry.
Yeah.
He got a chip on his shoulder, and I think that he's saying to himself, "Okay, that was Errol, but you come up here 154, I'm gonna give you a taste. I'm not Errol." So I don't know. I think there will be a rematch. I think there will be a rematch. I think Earl's going to try to push for it. But if they do not have a rematch, I can see Terrence Crawford fighting Boots Ennis.
Okay. Because Boots doesn't look too good in his last two fights either.
I think he will fight Boots Ennis. Just it's like, okay, I beat the man. You guys never thought I would have a chance. You got this little young dude chirping like he ready. I'm gonna tighten him up. You know what I'm saying? You say you want this? Do you really want this? You say you do. I'm gonna give you a shot.
Yeah, I got a story about that too with your boy, your play son. But I'm gonna say this because everybody I talked to about the fight was saying, "Oh man, he shouldn't get the rematch. He shouldn't do this rematch." But I reminded them about the Sugar Ray Leonard Roberto Duran fight, where Sugar Ray did not look anything like Sugar Ray in that first fight, and then came back in the second fight and just stole the show in that. So I'm like, you never know about boxing, what fighters go through and how they can come back. Let's go to Spence. Now, if he doesn't get the rematch, you have Erickson Lubin, you have Fendora, you have Tatsuzu, and then you have Mendoza. Brian Mendoza are the folks that are out there to fight Spence, and that's kind of like if you would have told me this last week, I'm like, man, that's like a step below of where he was last week. Now he has to come and fight some of the guys that, you know, to kind of prove himself to get back in the upper echelon.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be on this end seeing it like this, but it is what it is. I don't see him fighting. I don't see Spence doing that.
Okay.
But none of them names you mentioned. You said Fundora,
Lubin,
Lubin,
Tszyu, and Mendoza.
And that's out of 154, wouldn't it be?
Yes.
Yeah. Lubin, nah.
I don't think Lubin can hang in there with them.
Yeah, I don't think there's enough enough coin, enough interest.
You have Erickson Lubin, Sebastian Fundora, Tim Tszyu, and Brian Mendoza, who is 22-2 with 16 knockouts. Fundora just suffered his first loss when he got knocked out a few weeks ago. And Lubin, you know, he's taken 2 losses. Used to have a lot of hope for Lubin, but now not so much after seeing him fight Fundora and some other fights where he just didn't look well.
Tszyu, maybe. I think, you know, because Tszyu being right where he is, I think you could see that possibility because I think he has a belt.
Yeah, he's 23-0 with 17 knockouts, so he would probably be if he wants to step up. That would
and put Errol Spence right back in the mix.
Yes,
you know, right in the mix because the other guys, Fundora. I mean, what does he really have to prove? Why do that? Lubin, nah. I mean, and why would you do that? But you know, you look at those guys like that. So even at 147, there's no reason to fight Boots Ennis. No reason to fight there because you can just go to 154, and I think that's really where he really wants to be. So Tim Tszyu, I think, would be a great matchup for him because he gets 154, and if he beats him, he gets to show you that I'm back on my game.
Yeah, and he could fight at that particular weight too.
Yeah, and it puts him right in the mix. Now, granted, you're like, well, you can't beat Bud Crawford, but a lot of people are gonna say they can't beat Bud Crawford. So I'm not really, you know, because styles make fights, right? That's what we've been saying the whole time. So I don't think there's anything wrong with losing to Bud Crawford and then having to go fight some other guys. Because when you look at the other part of that, that's the other person I would say. Because everybody been talking about it just to get back on point and just this is what I call a get back and get your confidence up and get back on point so you feel comfortable about where you are. Keith Thurman.
Yeah, I heard your girl Carissa wants to fight Keith Thurman. I was reading the article and I'm like, come on, sis, come on now.
Yeah. Keith Thurman though.
So,
Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence. Errol Spence. Yeah. I would like to, you know, I can see that because Keith Thurman feels like he's still ready to go. Although, I mean, that's still a stretch. I think I would go for go to 154, and as you said before, he would fight Tim Tszyu. I would do that. But if I was gonna see a fight at 147, I'll tell you the fight I do want to see, and it's about the same level. I want to see Keith Thurman versus Ugas.
That would be a good one. If Keith Thurman is going to do what he said he's going to do, I think he needs to fight some of these other guys instead of going to Errol Spence or Bud Crawford. Right.
And I think that's part of what it came down to. That's what I would look for. I would go for, you know, say, okay, we want this fight to happen, but Tim Tszyu would be a great matchup for Spence.
And Keith Thurman, don't fight Carissa. Don't go down there.
I mean,
don't go down the clown show route, please. Don't even.
I mean, one, you can't. I mean, I don't think he would. What's the word you want to look at? I don't think that he would do that. I mean, just because of the fact that a man versus a woman. I mean, he would lose all the credibility.
Yeah. He can't win that one.
Can you talk about your boy Devin Haney?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so you know, Devin Haney was supposed to have I think WC was trying to tell him he needed to make a decision. So he's either need to stay at 135, keep his belts, and sign up to fight Shakur Stevenson, right? Or move up to 140. And he had to make a decision. So he's going to move up to probably move to 140 and fight Regis Prograis. So Prograis has that ability to have his heavy hands, But there's something about that Devin Haney thinks he can defeat him at 140, and that's where he wants to be anyway.
Yeah.
And then of course they want to say Shakur Stevenson is scared at 135. Now, when they made the offer to him about the money, they lowballed him. Shakur Stevenson's worth a lot more money than that. In fact, it's going to be a lot bigger if they do move up and fight each other at 140. There are also the rumblings too that Devin Haney will probably take this fight, win that fight if that's what he does. But also apparently Tank Davis is calling out Devin Haney now.
Yeah.
So
I can see that coming. I saw that coming.
So Devin Haney's fight with Prograis is supposed to be happening in October.
Okay.
In Vegas. So we're getting a lot of the pushback. We got Canelo and Charlo in September. So we get a lot of stuff. And hey, it's for all those that said boxing was dead, and we got the clown show with the other stuff going on too. Everybody said that. Don't look that way this year now. This year looks a lot different than it did before. And then for those looking for the clown show on the 5th, you got old boy versus my man Nate Diaz. So
I promise you one story with Shakur Stevenson. He was talking about Bud Crawford, and I guess he came to town, and Bud Crawford was like, "What you doing?" He said, and Bud Crawford said, "I'm in the gym. Come through." And he said he went to Bud Crawford's gym and started sparring. And he said, "Man, I've never been beat like that before in my life, and it taught me that I had a lot of work to do." After facing that guy, and that's why I guess he picked Bud Crawford in this fight. He said because he said the guy is technically sound and probably one of the best fighters that he's ever saw or have been in a ring with. He said, but he left that gym thinking, man, what am I doing? Should I even be a professional? This guy put a hurting on me, and I got a lot of work to do. So again, got to give kudos to Terrence Crawford. Fought a brilliant fight. I thought you were going to lose your cool. You kept your composure. You did what you needed to do to win that fight, regardless of whether Earl Spence was ready or whatever. You came in there and you shined. So I got to take my hat off to you. I didn't pick you to win this fight, but got a lot of healthy respect for you, watching you fight and watching you maneuver, and the way you handled it before and after that fight. Salute, man. Salute.
Yeah, major champion. He shows a lot of championship qualities. And it was awesome for him. Happy for him and his family and the people that rock with him, even though Bomac. I'm happy for the team in general, because Terrence Crawford deserves it. Like you said, what he showed us throughout the promotion, and a class act. Never got to get crazy. Even when Bomac and the two trainers were going at one another, you never really saw Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence going crazy at one another. They pretty much showed respect and told everybody to calm down or whatever, because we had to get in the ring. So he showed us a lot from that standpoint. What's next for him will be very exciting to see how that plays out. Errol Spence, what can you say? He gave all that he had, just wasn't his night. I think from the standpoint of, I think Bud Crawford found out a lot about himself, not about the people around him, how the game really works, what it means to be on top. I think he's going to be able to see a lot more that respect he's talking about, because people now are going to go, yeah, you are the best, man. You are the best. And we see who you are now, and we appreciate you, because not just because we're sucking up to you, because we saw you said what you said you were going to do what you're going to do, and you did it. And I think one of the things he mentioned, which was really interesting to me, the people have always talked about Bud Crawford being smaller and not being strong. And he said, what y'all don't understand is I'm used to fighting big guys. And he says, every time y'all say I'm not big enough, he said, that big Jeff Horn was bigger than I was. I got his power here. I rocked him. He said, I got in there with Errol. I expected more, coming out for punches. He didn't do a lot. I rocked him. He says, I'm so used to being a small guy, but a lot of times in these fights, I'm physically stronger than these guys.
Yeah, he showed it. He showed it.
Yeah, he said, y'all don't understand that. Y'all think I'll just swing hard. He said, but I'm physically stronger. I would expect more. And when I don't get it, I said, okay, I'm gonna go to work. And I think that's what he's showing tonight. He's showing you his wit. Other thing too, get out this lastly, but I'll say this. I don't think he's long for boxing. I don't.
No.
Because I think he said he'll be 36 coming up. He said, I've been boxing since I was 7. I was like, wow. And I think he wants to fight these big fights, whatever, which would not surprise me, like I said, to fight Boots Ennis. I think he would fight Charlo. I think he would. He wants to, because that's another challenge. Because I think he believes he would beat him. But Boots Ennis, because he's young and he thinks he's ready. But I'll say this. I think Charlo is set on Canelo first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an opportunity you can't pass up.
No.
And then after that, we can talk. But Terrence Bud Crawford, you're numero uno, bro. Pound for pound, the best fighter. I had no problems with it. It's not like you say when you did, even though you were not my choice. I never said that you didn't have talent. I just thought the other guy was a little better, and he shut me down on that. I should have bet on both of them. Both of them win in round 9. I might have made a couple dollars.
Like you said, you had the round. You had the round.
Yeah, but kudos to Terrence Crawford. He is to me the number 1 pound for pound fighter. I'm happy for him in a number of ways. My last comment will be, I'm happy for him to be unveiled, released from the contracts, and so people can really see who he is. And what I mentioned earlier, just showing him as a solid all-around dude that finally is getting his just due because you're with the right promoter or somebody that's not afraid to show who the hell you are and give you real money. Bob Arum is a great promoter and in the Hall of Fame, all that other stuff, but that wasn't the answer for you. So you're mad at people, you're a little frustrated because people weren't giving you a just due. They're giving you a just due because now they see you. Before you're like, you know how it is. When people have done this, you're in your bedroom and you have something like a box and you throw clothes on top of the gift. You can't find it. Terrence Crawford was the gift, and they finally unveiled him and uncovered him, and now we see who he is totally. And congratulations again, brand new champion, number one pound for pound. I'll be very interested to see what happens next.
He's Icewater. I'm Puma. This is the Fight Game.